Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast right here on the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel. And like every Thursday, I am joined by one of my favorite guys in the sports betting industry, Mr. Doug Upstone of DocSports.com. I get to talk to him twice a week on our show, and it's some of the most informative and interesting and educational discussions you'll find anywhere on the internet when it comes to sports betting, folks. I could say that with the utmost confidence, and this guy here is a key contributor to me making that statement. So, Doug, how are you?
I appreciate the flattery, and also would like to add that one of my goals weekly, every time we do this show, is to make Ross laugh. So that's part of it. See, I already accomplished my
That's
goal.
a lock. That's a lock.
That's true. Man. There aren't many. There's no locks in sports, but there can be in doing videos. You're right.
You making me laugh is like the surest bet you can make. So,
but yeah, so everything's good, Ross. Just some interesting stuff going on in sports, that's for sure. And for example, that Boston Philadelphia game tonight, as we're doing the show on Thursday, that's certainly a fascinating matchup, and we'll get into that. And I found some little baseball tidbits, that people might find interesting and something to consider when looking to make some bets as we go along here too.
All right, so looking forward to that conversation. We will be covering two Major League Baseball games for Friday, May the 12th, and giving a free selection on each contest. Doug will be covering the Atlanta Braves and the Toronto Blue Jays. Real good matchup with Spencer Strider for the Atlanta Braves and Chris Bassett for the Toronto Blue Jays. You take away that opening start by Bassett, he's been terrific, and Spencer Strider has just been outstanding to start the season for Atlanta. And then I'm going to look at the LA Angels and the Cleveland Indians, or Cleveland Guardians. I'm sorry, folks. Don't take offense to it. I had no disrespect meant toward any Native American tribes.
Well, that's what they were called, so it's not disrespectful.
I know. I like to mention that because I know that's a sensitive topic. And God forbid I say lesser things that are less harmful and I get criticized. So I may just want to put a little preface in there, Doug. Anyway,
LA... sure. Then you give me the Atlanta Braves though, so you're trying to cover your butt, but you're letting it all come on me.
Yeah.
Hey, no problem, Ross. Whatever you got to do.
It's a conspiracy, buddy. You're not paranoid. Everybody's just after you. So anyway, all right, Doug. Let's talk about some of those Major League Baseball tidbits before we. And stay tuned, folks. We'll have free selections and our analysis on both of those games, but. Like every podcast, we try to bring something out that it's going to make you a smarter sports bettor today than it was yesterday. Not only the free picks, free winners, but some sports handicapping, intriguing subjects of the day. And Doug, go ahead, buddy.
All right. Well, first of all, this is more of a hypothetical. I'll get into some of the angles here, but this is just something I just wanted to run by you. We have seen, I know you have always tried to stay within the parameters of, excuse me, minus 150 for a favorite. And I think that's pretty much impossible anymore. Okay. If you're looking to do that. And the reason I say that is because on a daily basis, in terms of, now you can certainly play underdogs, but if you're looking at favorites, used to be, I would say at least 10, if not 11 or more of the games would feature minus 150 or 155 to 160 favorites, on a daily basis.
You're talking today, right within that parameter, Doug, or
150? I'm just saying in a general sense, yes. Right, on a daily basis. But in today's world, for the most part, you are lucky to see half the games, fall into that category. Yeah, of course, there's some exceptions to that. And so in looking at some of the matchups, now this is my opinion, on this, and Ross, you can chime in. I'll make my point here, is that I think that the lines have shifted, and I don't know if it has to do with how sports betting now in the United States has, taken hold or whatever it happens to be, and yes, there's plenty of bad teams and there's some very good teams, but I would say on average, the favorites today are 15 to 20 cents higher than they were as recent as 5 years ago. Okay. Especially this time of year. And, I mean, and there was a game the other day. I think Cleveland played Detroit. I think it was Monday. And I mean, I've seen this. And now that we have enough data, there was no justification for Cleveland being a 180 favorite. I would say it would maybe a 150 favorite, but there was no justification. Oh, sure, you can pull some straws out and say, oh yeah, well, this or this and that. I'm just saying, just looking at the two teams, Detroit and Cleveland, and then looking at the pitching matchup, had a somewhat of a disparity, but not much. And if you can go along with the conception that a home team is roughly 125, okay, to 130, there was no justification. So I think that the sports betting industry has changed how they do the lines, okay, just I'm talking baseball lines now, than what they did before. Ross, what's your thoughts?
Well, let's think like an odds maker. I always say that, right, Doug? And this is a perfect example with this topic to do so. Why would they do that? So here's what, just purely opinion, because
Yeah.
I don't have anything in terms of data to back up what my thoughts are on this particular topic. But just from years of experience, and that's all I can go by, because I didn't have much time to research this topic, and it's a good one. They're realizing with the influx of all this American legalized sports betting in numerous states across the country, most, I would say, at this point, that you're getting a lot of novice bettors who like to bet chalks.
Yep.
It's a heavy chalk market. Guys who are not willing, I mean, they'll tell you they're not willing to take a risk on an underdog, but they have no problem laying 2-1 on a favorite. Now, I don't know the numbers. We went over this last year, me and you, and we found that, for the first time in a long time, betting favorites of, I don't know, 200 or more were a profitable venture, which it hardly ever has been over the last couple of decades. If there has been, it's been very rare. Is that fair?
Yes.
So I think that's part of the reason. The other reason that comes to my mind without a lot of thought going into this, and again, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on my answers, it's a lot more popular these days for a lot of these sports bettors that they like to put together parlays with big chalks. That seems to be a popular thing now. You get a 170, a 180, a 190 favorite, and you put it in a 3-team parlay. And instead of laying the big money, you put a little bit of money and you're hoping to get a return that would probably be less than winning a 2-team parlay. Right. So I think off the top of my head and off the cuff, Doug, that's the most intelligent answer I can give you without a lot of research being placed into it.
Sure, and I think all your points are valid, and also to go along with your last point about people betting parlays or 3-teamers and stuff like that. The sports books, especially these now U.S. based sports books, regularly encourage it to where they're saying, "Hey, you know what? Bet X, okay, and you can get 3 or 4 times, okay, what your initial bet is, okay, if this wins, okay." And so they're presenting it not so much as sports betting, but as a form of entertainment, okay. And I think that's another part of one of the fundamental differences that is occurring in this industry, because I mean, we see it literally. I mean, you go on Twitter every single day, you see instances where people saying, I wanted to bet this. Okay. I opened up an account. I had some early success, and all of a sudden the size of my bets have been cut in half. And I was only betting $100 to begin with. Okay. On an individual bet. So you just see this, more and more every day. And I'm not picking on the sports books. I'm just relating to what is happening. Okay. In the industry. And, so with that being the case, they're basically, and some of them have made it known, they're not interested in sharp players. They're interested in just recreational players.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go with it, Doug. I mean, if I could just finish this thought. And
sure, absolutely. Go ahead.
They're catering more to the small bettor than ever before. And when I say than ever before, obviously we don't have a long track history other than the state of Nevada. But all I could go by is what the offshore sports books have been doing over the last 2 decades since I've been involved in this business. They cater to the small bettor, but they're also promoting and pushing bets for bettors, like you just said, they want you to play. And when I'm saying that, folks, is I've never been an advocate of parlays. You know that, Doug. I
No,
can't
not
speak for
much.
him. Yes. Okay. But, at the very best, if I'm red hot in football and I'm getting minus 110 or less of money lines on all 3 picks on the point spread, I'll dabble into a round robin. And even then, I won't play the 3-teamer because I want to know if I hit 2 out of 3, I'm going to be assured of making a profit. So that's another thing, folks, to keep in mind. If you're going to play round robins, no matter what sport it is, I know it's easy to get greedy and say, well, what about the 3-teamer? It could pay this. Well, what about if you win 2 out of 3 of those and you lose money? I mean, that's why I've always discouraged parlays. Think about this. Imagine if the sports books told you only have to win 1 of 3 games to beat me. How much easier it would be. There wouldn't be any sports books. There wouldn't be any Las Vegas sports books. There wouldn't be any offshore sports books. There wouldn't be any bookmakers on the street if that was the case. Well, that's exactly what you're giving the advantage to the bookies when you bet parlays. But, like Doug said, they put the bait out there for you to bet a parlay and tell you that you'll make more money than you normally would if you enter in this promotion. And God forbid you win that. I can honestly say, I think personally, the sports books want you to win initially on parlays. They never want to lose, like we never want to lose, right, Doug? But look, they look at it like this. The odds of them beating us on this promotion are very small. If indeed they have luck or certain individuals have luck, now we got him hooked because he got a big payday on a small risk and he thinks it's easy. So now this guy continues to go, I had a 3-team parlay on a promotion and it paid, instead of paying 120, you paid 180 because that's what sports books were offering. And then he spends the next 2 weeks betting parlays every day and finds himself down a couple thousand because he's hitting 2 out of 3, he's hitting 1 out of 2. You know what I'm trying to say? So again, do I have data that would back this up? No, but in this particular instance, I'm trying to exercise common sense.
I agree with you 100% on that one, Ross. It's just it's a very interesting topic and it's a very interesting time, as to what's going on. And the only thing that has really changed, it has not been to the bettor's advantage. The only thing that's different is now there's accessibility that there wasn't necessarily before. I mean, you could bet, but you offshore there was a certain amount of risk, with that. But now it's risk adverse for the sports book, and that seems to be how things are going. Okay, so enough on that. Couple of quick notes, and I know you want to get some stuff here. If you're betting the Boston Red Sox, something to look at right now. Red Sox are 13-7 on the road, and along with that, they're 14-6 over. Okay, so that's something to consider. Okay, when looking at both sides, I'm not suggesting a parlay on that one. I'm just throwing out the information. Okay, for for you to look at. With more interleague games each and every day, okay, that we're seeing, American League just has a modest advantage. It's 4 games over 500. A couple things of note: the Detroit Tigers, despite a losing record, 9-2 in interleague action. Cubs, also with a losing record, 7-2, okay, in interleague play. Strangely enough, the Los Angeles Dodgers have not played an interleague game yet this year, which when I saw that, that kind of blew me away. That was sort of interesting from that standpoint. So we'll see what they do, as things go along there. And I think that's basically about it. Just a couple of quick notes of some things that I saw that I thought were just sort of fun. Okay, from that standpoint. Now, Ross, I know you had some NBA
Yeah,
or
but
NHL stuff you wanted to
before
bring
I
up
get
too.
to my topics,
Yes, go ahead.
I
Sorry.
want to ask you a question because I've thought about this for a little bit, and I haven't done the research, and I should. But since both leagues adopted the DH, I think the National League lost their advantage because American League teams, if you don't remember correctly, up until a couple of years ago, when American League teams went on the road in the National League, their pitchers had a hit. And when you're talking about maybe playing not even a quarter of the schedule against the opposite league, your pitchers aren't used to hitting. Now all of a sudden, no pitcher has to hit. So it used to be, in my eyes, the National League had a slight advantage when they played at home against American League teams. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. Any thoughts?
Yeah, no, there's no question they did. I mean, I remember hearing things and listening to things and stuff. And in terms of what those numbers were, I don't recall anymore. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's just common sense. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, a even a bad DH, okay, even in today's world, was going to probably hit 240 and drive and have some home runs. A pitcher is going to hit what, maybe 100.
Yeah.
Okay, if that's the case. So just purely the laws of averages as to what regular batting averages would be, it made sense that the National League had an advantage from that standpoint. And then just the peculiarity of having to bat and then change your lineups, and then and also from a managerial standpoint, it was also more intricate game to how the National League played it compared to the American League because of the pitcher having to bat. And of course, they always had more switches, double switches, and stuff like that. So all
Yeah.
of that's gone now. So water under the bridge. But yeah, no question, it made a difference.
You found a way in the National League to try to manufacture runs. As a result, the bunt wasn't out of the realm of possibility to sacrifice a guy over into scoring position. Now we rarely see it. I mean, that type of baseball, it happens, but not in the frequency as it once did.
Right.
So that's another point that, and then in the National League, you stole a lot more bases
Right.
because you had, again, manufacture runs, especially when you got near the bottom of the lineup. No longer could an American League pitcher pitch around the number 8 hitter to get to the number 9 hitter and vice versa, right? Now all of a sudden, there's a guy like Doug said, even though he's in a 9-hole, that 9-hole hitter is a better possibility of producing something offensively than most everyday starting pitchers could. Now, when I say that, some smart ass is going to chime in and say, what about Shohei Ohtani? Come on. All right. There was some good hitting pitchers, and there is some good hitting pitchers in baseball to this day that we don't know about because they no longer hit. But, on occasion, you'll see a good hitting pitcher actually be utilized as a pinch hitter, especially it used to happen a lot more in the National League because those guys are getting 100 at-bats a year or so, right?
Madison Bumgarner, Zach
Right.
Greinke. I said Madison Bumgarner comes to mind. Zach Greinke, another guy that could hit. I mean, pitchers that
Who was the
legitimately.
left-hander for Mike Hampton? Another
Mike
great hitter.
Hampton, yes, he
Yeah.
was a good hitter. And even though he wasn't a great pitcher, and he's still around, but when in the National League, when Mike Lorenzen
Mike
was
Lorenzen. Well,
and
he's another one. He started his career as an outfielder.
right.
As a matter of fact, when he first came up with Cincinnati, I'm think he's a guy that plays the outfield on occasion still, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he used to. Yes, he's
Okay.
primarily a starter today, but
All right.
but yeah, earlier in his
But
career,
he has
yes,
that pedigree as an
yes,
everyday player. So,
yep.
all right. Just a couple quick notes, and then I know. Thank you for patiently waiting, folks. But hopefully, you're absorbing this conversation. You're taking it in, and it makes you a smarter sports better. And again, look at the NHL. I mean, it's been well documented. The road teams have been terrific in the NHL so far. 39-27 so far. That's 59%. And I have not done the research, but I would go out on a limb and say this has to be one of the best NHL road records in the postseason overall than we probably ever or we've seen in quite a long time up to this point. Now we're in the second round, so there's a lot of hockey left to be played. But by the same token, as you advance in these playoffs, there's less games that are left to play too. So, and $100 bettors, by the way, if you risk $100 on a road underdog in the NHL playoffs, or you played to win $100 on an NHL road favorite, you're up $2,025 right now. Not bad. And the average money line on road teams this year in all 66 of those games was plus 118.6. I was a little surprised to see that too, Doug. I thought that was a low average. But again, we're looking at a lot of first and second round games where you have higher seeded teams playing lower seeded teams that most times or sometimes are favored on the road. So that keeps that number down. NBA home teams in the playoffs, 44-25 straight up, 40-28-1 against the spread, 58.1%. The straight up number doesn't faze me whatsoever. That matter of fact, I think that's low. It's a 638 win percentage, especially in the first two rounds when you have number 1 against number 8 and number 2 against number 7. But we've seen we got a number 7 alive right now. The LA Lakers are a 1 win away from making the NBA playoffs and an NBA conference finals, excuse me. And then the Miami Heat too. I mean, number 8 seed, they're 1 win away from advancing to the Eastern Conference final. And if you want to count Golden State, they're a number 6 seed. So, I mean, and they're still alive. But having said all that, those are some interesting numbers. And you know what? Here's another thing. Since May 3rd, Doug, NBA home teams are 12-2 straight up and against the spread. And if they're a home favorite in those 12 games, or 14 games, if they were a home favorite, they of 7.5 or less, that improved those home teams to 10-0 straight up in ATS. So recently, especially home favorites, reasonably sized home favorites of -7.5 or less, 10-0 straight up and against the spread.
Good stuff, Ross. Good stuff. Like it.
So any thoughts before we move on to our free picks?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the way that, as you say, it's just one of those years. There's no real reason, seemingly, for this to occur from that standpoint. But yeah, it's always of note. Okay, when you have stuff that comes up like this, and whenever that does, you have to be cognizant of it and see if it makes sense for your betting purposes in order to make it work to your advantage.
And I'm going to coin a phrase from you, if I may. Like when you're on a win streak, I can't explain it. Simple as that. So with a little shake of the head. Anyway, all right, let's get to the Major League Baseball free picks. Doug, real intriguing matchup. Like I said, at the top of the broadcast, Atlanta with Spencer Strider on the mound at Toronto with Chris Bassett on the mound. 7:07 p.m. Eastern time start. You gotta love those start times in Toronto. 7:07, like not 7:06, not 7:05, not 7 o'clock. 7:07, folks. That's because the Canadian national anthem takes a lot longer to sing than the American national anthem. No, that's not true.
I knew that too.
All right. So.
All right. I'm ready to go. Atlanta, opens up a tough 6-game road trip in Toronto, going north of the border in this one. This will likely be part of the toughest stretches of the entire season for Atlanta. They just faced 2 teams from the AL East, so they're going to face another one this time though on the road. And then their next trip, which will be on the road, is going to be into the Lone Star State to take on first place Texas in this one. So, but Atlanta has been up to the challenges, Ross, as you're well aware of, and particularly so on the road with a sensational 15-3 record. Now they're going to face though a really good home team in the Toronto Blue Jays, who are 9-3, just haven't played as many games at home yet. Now, overall, I think that Toronto is a little bit of disappointment at 21-16. I think there's a variety of reasons, and I'll make them quick. They have 5 players that are hitting 287 or higher, so they have the potential. Okay, the problem is that how do you place those guys? Because the rest of the other 4 players in the lineup are betting either at or close to 200 or less.
Wow.
So that makes the manager's job, in this case, John Schneider's, tough, because do you front load your lineup with all 5 guys, knowing basically that roughly every other inning you're kind of conceding potentially to score any other runs? Or like he's frequently done, he's mixed them up, put them like every other and then did the left right thing as well. Mixed results, okay, generally speaking, on that one. And then the other aspect that comes in is their bullpen. Bullpen was great to start the season. Last couple of weeks, not so hot. ERA has been on the rise for sure on this one. Now, in terms of doing better for Toronto offensively, Spencer Strider, tough one. I think we're all in agreement there. 2.70 ERA. Get this. Teams are batting 162 against him, okay? And if you take it as this really got me. The slugging percentage against him, 246.
Oh my goodness.
Slugging percentage.
So folks,
okay?
anything less than 600 is terrible. And
right.
He's at what did you say, Doug?
246.
246.
Okay. So Blue Jays are going to face a tough customer, which Ross made mention of too, in Chris Bassett. Now, Bassett's 4-2. His ERA, like I said, it was he had a couple of early rough outings, one in particular. His last 3 starts down to 2.95. But there is one concern, though, I think, about Bassett in particular, as his command has been off. His strikeout to walk ratio this year, as we right now, is only 1.7. Never in his career has it been that low, other than his rookie season. His average in his career is 2.8. So that's a significant drop. And the only time, as I mentioned, was with his first year as a rookie. And I actually forgot about this until I looked it up, Ross. Chris Bassett was once a Chicago White Sox pitcher. I completely forgot about that.
Never. If you asked me who else he pitched for,
yep,
I would have said the Oakland A's, and that's it.
Right. That would have been my assumption as well. So the trade obviously happened there. Now, I mentioned the Jays bullpen. That's a concern, okay, from that standpoint. So the Braves come in with the number 5 ranked offense. And if Bassett comes in, starts walking guys, this is an Atlanta offense that can certainly take advantage of that and get some work done in that bullpen to work them from that standpoint. The total is at 8.5. Right now, Atlanta 11-1 on the road. The total is 7 to 8.5. And when it's after dark, which it will be in this game, the Braves are a perfect 9-0. Ross, I'll give the minus 140 to 145 on Atlanta, okay, and I'll take them to take the opening game of their series north of the border in Toronto.
So Atlanta minus 145, you said, right, Doug?
That is correct. Yep.
Atlanta minus 145 on the money line over the Toronto Blue Jays on Friday, May the 12th, from Doug Upstone of DocSports.com. Atlanta's 7-0 this season with Strider on the mound, and no shock after Doug just rattled off some of the numbers he's put up this year. The 15-3 on the road is amazing, and not only 15-3 on the road, one of Doug's favorite stats he likes to look at, run differential. During those 18 road games, they've outscored the opposition by 3.3 runs per game, which Doug knows is enormous. So the Toronto bullpen at home has been real good. Bassett, the last 4 starts, 219, 097, 6.2 innings pitched per start. Yes, his strikeouts are down. Yes, his command is a little off, but you take away that opening start of the year again at St. Louis when he gave up 9 earned runs in his Blue Jays debut. He's been outstanding over his last 6 starts. 2.45 ERA, 104 WHIP, 5 of the 6 have gone under. I know Atlanta knocks the cover off the ball, right? I mean, and Toronto has ample amount of power and we know is capable of putting up big numbers on any given night. But Toronto, since 2021, these teams have played every year. And well, let's put it this way. They played the last 2 years, 3 games each year against each other. Toronto's gone 6-0 in those games against Atlanta the last 2 years. And Atlanta's only scored 10 runs combined in those 6 games. That's a head scratcher because Doug mentioned all the impressive offensive numbers that Atlanta has put up so far this year, and rightfully so. Yet, for whatever reason, when they face Toronto, they've had a little bit of difficulty. I'm going to lean toward the under on your game, Doug. So Doug likes Atlanta minus 145. I'm seeing you could get an 8 or 8.5, depending on where you look in terms of a sports book. So always shop your line. So if you're going to follow me on my total, please shop the line because you're going to get an 8.5 out there. Okay. And Doug, 145 is on the lower end of the spectrum. I've seen Atlanta as high as 155 on this game so far. Get down early, folks. It's all I can tell you because I got a feeling with Strider on the mound, how good Atlanta's been on the road. And if you don't get down early on Doug's pick, you're probably going to have to lay 165 or 170 before it's all said and done, possibly. So just a word of advice. I don't see the line going down. Do you, Doug?
You wouldn't think so. No, I would agree with you on that.
Yeah. Yep. So, all right. So let me go to my game. It's the LA Angels and the Cleveland Guardians, the punchless Cleveland Guardians. Logan Allen gets a start for Cleveland. And no, it's not the Logan Allen that pitches for the Colorado Rockies. It's the Logan Allen. Actually, Logan Allen from the Colorado Rockies, if I'm not mistaken, he started his career with Cleveland. But anyway, this Logan Allen is 24 years old. He's in his rookie campaign. He's made 3 starts this year. He has a 2.70 ERA, 126 WHIP. Nothing to be ashamed of there. That's some pretty good pitching. He struck out 19, walked 5, almost a 4-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. And he's a lefty. And Cleveland's bullpen been real good over the last 7 games. A 180 ERA, a 115 WHIP. Cleveland's bullpen's been good all year. Cleveland's bullpen's been good for the last few seasons. That's never been the issue with Cleveland. It's where they're going to find their offense from, because the Guardians are averaging a mere 1.9 runs per game over their last 7. Doug, Cleveland has played 18-3 to the under in their last 21, including 9-1 to the under in their last 10. And those last 10 games average a combined 5.3 runs scored per game. So they've been involved in a ton of low-scoring affairs. LA, on the other hand, they had yesterday off, or today off. We're recording 24 hours in advance. So when they play tomorrow, they will be going into that game off day, with no pun intended. And since last year, when coming off an off day, the Angels 17-6 to the under. So their bats aren't quite as potent as they were, and their defense tightens up and their pitching's a little better. Again, an extra day of rest for a pitching staff does wonders, especially a bullpen. But I like this game to go under the total. I mean, the last 2 seasons, the Angels are 0-6 at Cleveland, and they scored a mere 1.7 runs per game in those 6 games. So for whatever reason, that potent Angels lineup, which it is, so we've seen them put up some crooked numbers this year with regularity. When they play at Progressive Field in Cleveland, they've struggled offensively. I'm going to go under the total here. I'm going the LA Angels and the Cleveland Guardians under the total of 8.5, Doug.
Yeah, I think you're on it there, Ross. I was as you were speaking, I actually remembered those numbers about the Angels struggling, on the shore or near the shores of Lake Erie there. So I think they will continue to struggle to score. Cleveland's bullpen has been lights out, and of course, other than Ramirez at third base, I don't really know who hits for Cleveland. So yeah, I think under is really a strong play on that one for sure.
And I can tell you, Doug, there was a time where I would make the annual trek up to Cleveland from Rochester, which is a 4-hour drive, and spend a weekend there or 3 days there to watch my Yankees. And it's one of the best ballparks in all of Major League Baseball. And not only the ballpark itself, but the surrounding area. They've done a terrific job of building up that used to be Jacobs Field, now Progressive Field. The area surrounding the ballpark is beautiful. And you'll be surprised, Cleveland gets a bad rep, but downtown Cleveland is spotless. I won't say you can eat off the ground, but when you start comparing it to other major city downtowns. And again, I guess Cleveland's not a major city, but it is. Okay. It's a great place. It's a lot better place than it's perceived. Anyway, Doug, tell the folks what you may have coming up this weekend, and any hot streaks you would like.
The best streaks I have going right now, Ross, are in the NBA at 13-6 and 43-27 of late. So I'll have some action looking at some of the games coming up this weekend. So looking forward to that. Tonight, as a matter of fact, though, on Thursday, I have a 6-unit best bet going in the NHL. NHL plays that are 6 units or higher are 14-6, 70% run of late. So looking to cash yet again tonight, Ross. What about you?
Hey, buddy, I'm the NBA. My sides continue to roll. I cashed in with a 10-star top play last night on the Golden State Warriors. And so I am now, where is my record here? If I could find it, which I can't, which is usual. I am 25-11 with my NBA sides combined money line and point spread picks since the start of the 2023 NBA postseason. That's good for 69%. My NBA overall, in playoffs overall, 28-17, which is good, I believe, for 61%. So the NBA playoffs have been doing very, very well for me. And my NBA top plays, 10-star top plays, I don't give a lot of them out, folks. And over the course of the last close to 2 years now, I've given out 45 of those picks. I've won 30 of them, including last night. So that's good for 67%. rbwins.com is where you could find me and purchase my best picks of the day. That's rbwins.com or rossbenjaminsports.com, whatever you prefer. Folks, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please take a second to do so. And don't forget, a small token of appreciation for the work we do for you on this channel. Give us a like. It's a simple thing to do, and we welcome your comments. Just keep it respectful. That's all we ask, and you guys have been doing a great job with that lately. Respect one another, too. Not just us, but your fellow subscribers as well. Until the next time, for Doug Upstone and Ross Benjamin, we like to wish each and every one of you all the very best. Take care and God bless, folks.